In the world of comics, dying is merely a suggestion as exemplified by the spirit of the 20th century. Jenny Sparks rises from her grave to confront Captain Atom by secondhand smoking him to death, while the narrative bounces between various timelines like a Christopher Nolan feature. This is the story of Jenny Sparks by Tom King. When Captain Atom becomes afflicted with a severe mental condition of turning into a supervillain, Batman responds by invoking the Spirit of Vengeance. Wait, wrong spirit. The spirit of the 20th century. My dude's got his manhood on full display like an HBO miniseries as he begins reciting the Bible. Except Jenny Sparks is not getting paid by the hour, nor is it Sunday. Nonetheless, he snaps her neck and goes day drinking. Tom King and convoluted plots go hand in hand, which is why he introduces nearly half a dozen side characters. We've got a Hollywood executive in Tom Ford, Dr. Bowles is a shrink who's about to expire, Erica is a substitute professor with many intrusive thoughts toward her friend Judge Danny. Rounding out the cast, we've got Taylor who runs Taylor's, the bar where they're all being held as hostages. The newly minted villain continues to make 3 demands. He wants a Big Belly burger, he wants his family back, and he wants to become God. The final boss accumulates an impressive tab, while the other patrons are soiling their trousers contemplating his motives. Judging from their reactions, it would seem nobody had Houdini on their bingo cards. Just when the boomer gets up to lecture the captain on his life choices, a violent burst of coughing sends him to his knees. Suddenly, Jennifer returns like an unskippable YouTube ad when they least expect it. In a major turn of events, Atom not only cures the shrink's cancer, but he also resurrects Tom Ford. Unfortunately, unless he was trapped inside an intrinsic field generator or crucified on a cross, they simply cannot fulfill his demand. Backtracking 20 pages, Superman instructed the smoker to keep him busy as Flash is running fashionably late. I mean, it's not like there's a whole family of Wish.com Flashes, including the Forgotten Flashes, Mentor Flash, Kid Flash, Other Kid Flash, Melanin Flash, Flash of China, OG Flash, and not to mention The Flash. During Afghanistan war times, Jenny held a philosophical discussion on the streets of Baghdad. Superman tries to steer clear of politics altogether, but when an innocent patrol vehicle is about to plaster the streets with human entrails, Big Blue obviously does the right thing. Likewise, he could just as easily stop Jenny from lighting another cancer stick. The implication here is that there's already a Kim Jong Superman running around imposing his will in something called Injustice, Gods Among Us. Anyway, Captain Atom is generously padded in plot armor, meaning he's even faster than the fastest man alive. The last time I saw someone losing this badly was when the United States expended $2 trillion to replace the Taliban with the Taliban. As a last measure, Batman arranges for the captain's daughter to talk him out of it like a CW show, but the villain turns her into ashes before disposing of the Dark Knight himself. In financial crisis times, Sparks abducted the bankman responsible for this universe's financial crisis. Essentially, his empty-headed peanut brain handed out a ton of loans to sketchy people, was genuinely surprised when they couldn't pay it back, and the world economy somehow collapsed. Furthermore, as a privileged white man, he suffered no consequences until today. Meet Carly. Carly used to live here until the bank took her house. Carly doesn't care for what he has to say. Presently, Jenny employs a strategy often overlooked by the Justice League: drinking and smoking. She wants him to substantiate that he's not some grandiose lunatic by releasing 2 hostages. Even though he can blow her to smithereens with a snap of his fingers, the spirit of the 20th century has already proven she's not going anywhere. In the end, Atom surrenders a single hostage following a prolonged stalemate lasting a quarter of a page. 2016 was an eventful year to say the least. Britain moved out from mom's basement, Americans demonstrated they wouldn't tolerate a female president, Miss Sparks accepted a job offer on condition that she could beat up the world's finest if necessary. Moving on to the greatest invention in comic book history, the origin story. Nathaniel Adam was a commendable soldier who was also framed for indescribable actions based on hearsay evidence because it's literally not on the page. For a get-out-of-jail-free card, he agreed to let the military nuke him for science. The man obviously did not survive, until he respawned by respawning and became the hero, Captain Atom. But half a season of The Flash ago, he fled from a mental institution, which is why Jenny requires a complete evaluation of the villain's psyche. Dr. Bowles goes on a long and boring tangent about losing his wife and that curing his cancer has effectively robbed him of his wife. All this is to say, Captain Atom is a certified nutjob. During COVID times, people forgot how to open doors, which only cemented her smoking habits. Life during lockdown consisted of short-lived hobbies, supporting extortionate food delivery services, Egypt's complaining about covering their ugly faces which nobody wanted to see anyway, doom scrolling, and finally, the rollout of 5G vaccines. Using the non-existent powers vested inside her, the spirit of the 20th century formally declares him God, and the hostages are free to go. However, they've all contracted varying degrees of Stockholm Syndrome. They're either passed out, don't get off for another 6 hours, or unreasonably focused on tic-tac-toe. Moreover, much like how Nathaniel fought alongside the Justice League, Jennifer also thought her purpose was to save the world. The only difference is that the one with real power to make lasting changes has squandered his opportunity like so many before him. Suddenly, the Shrink finds himself back inside the bar and whoops, someone forgot to turn off Discord light mode. Having lost all worldly possessions beyond the confines of this room, the atmosphere is laden with verbal abuse as Tom Ford takes a swing. He saved them from the destruction of the multiverse, and this is how they celebrate their savior? Anyhow, Jennifer mentions a writer who loaded her pockets with rocks and drowned, which is why they started making pants with holes pre-installed. Virginia Woolf contributed significantly to English literature, the effects of which are still felt by the wrath of high school students today. Even in 1941, Virginia understood that as the horrors of one world war subsided, a sequel would inevitably take its place all the same. The villain then fills her pockets with rocks, so to speak, and at last realizes what she's been trying to tell him. Thanks to concerned citizens and a PhD in listening, Jenny cornered the final boss and pushed his buttons. No matter how many times he attempted to forge a perfect world, it always resulted in failure until he recognized what needed changing was himself, to accept his pain and move on. What do I mean by that? I don't know, and I'm willing to bet neither does Tom King. Ultimately, if he ever strays down a path of evil again, she'll be there to chop off his manhood. That about sums it up for the Black Label series, Jenny Sparks. Make of this what you will, I'm just a messenger.